Okay, everyone. So I wanted to kind of give you guys an introduction into getting into an environment where you can start developing some SQL code. We're still a couple 3 weeks out from the requirement to do that in this class, but as I mentioned in my introduction, I think it's way too late for to start writing SQL by week 6 in an 8-week class. So if you go to content and course content and bibliography. I've got several links out there as I mentioned in the intro. But if you go to um, this Unix FAQ and computer resources, open that guy up, and as I mentioned in the video that I just posted about opening your Nova account, there's a ton of information out here, and they try to pack every possible bit of information that you might need about the Unix environment in one page. So it's difficult to navigate and difficult to find what you're looking for. So I'll try and help you out the best that I can. So if you go down just a little bit, this kind of leads into the Nova information. Go down just a little bit, and you'll find the porta putty specific to UMUC. So when you download that, it's going to have all the information that you'll need to log into Nova, which is going to be the server we're going to use to develop our code. Now, in the previous video, I also gave you some information on setting up your core FTP, which is down here somewhere. Um, so whether you use FTP or not is entirely up to you. This is the Core FTP website that you can use to download Core FTP. Um, you don't necessarily have to do that. If you go back to the bibliography and you go to iSQL Plus, this is the web interface for that Nova server. Actually, the SQL Server back end that's behind that Nova server. So you will use your regular username that you use to log into Nova, as well as the username that it initially gave you when you use the change pass. So let's check that out. Let me go ahead and log in with my account if it still works. Okay, so you can put together all of your code here and execute it and see everything that you need to see. Now, again, if you go to, let's go ahead and open Nova, and again, if you look at this, it has the nova.umc.edu with the name Nova. Go ahead and open that guy up. Okay, so you can do all of your SQL code in this environment if you choose, and that's fine. If you're more of a command line kind of person, if you grew up in a Unix environment like I did, I certainly understand. Um, you can you're free to do that. Um, if you're new to SQL and new to writing code, I definitely recommend that you use this interface. This this is like I said, it's really easy to use. Now, there have been problems with the reliability of this web front end. So if it goes up and down, I do apologize. That's been an issue with past classes. So let's take a look at some code that I've actually gotten from a different textbook. This is from the original textbook for this class, which is the 11th edition of Modern Database Management by Jeffrey Hoffer. So this this code is used to create a very basic database, and you'll see that we have 4 different tables, And we have a lot of stuff going on here that we'll start to cover later on in class, um, to include the constraints for each of these tables. So, for instance, we've got there's a constraint down here that sets up a foreign key to to tie the order table back to the customer table, and we do that with the primary key from the customer table used as a foreign key in the order table. So now this is going to be very important. So let's take a look at the diagram that we might have used for this. Let's go back to our bibliography. And now I've been preaching using this Draw.io webpage to a lot of folks. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive and get an existing table. I'm going to use that guy right there. And this is the diagram for that code. And you'll see that we have the relationships identified in this diagram, along with the cardinality, and we've already talked about that. And you'll see that that there's a customer table and an order table, and each of those are all of these tables have a primary key, and that order ID should the order ID and product ID are actually a composite key to construct our primary key for that particular table. So anyway, let's go back to the code. And it's very, very important that we not only build the tables, but we identify the relationships in those tables based on this diagram and what we identify as being related to one another in the diagram. So let's take a look at this code. We'll just copy and paste the code to create the tables over here in iSQL Plus, and execute that. And now you'll notice that so I've got tables already created in that SQL environment. And one thing about SQL is when you create a table, that table will always be there unless you, as a database administrator, take steps to get rid of that table. So let's take those steps. And so this syntax is pretty important because it uses the standard drop table syntax, as well as doing a cascade constraints. That means regardless of who this is tied to, I want you to drop those tables. So we'll go ahead and run that, and it's going to drop all 4 tables. So we'll go back to our code and copy that and put it back in that environment and execute it, and it's going to create the 4 tables. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is that when you write the code, when you write your initial code, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and include your drop table commands in that code. Oops, make sure I get everything. So that way when you run the code, you'll notice that the first commands that are executed are those that drop the table. So it's going to drop all 4 tables and then recreate the tables. So now again, if you choose to do that in the Nova environment, you'll need to set up spooling on that environment so we can see exactly what's happening. So rather than you seeing it here where it says table dropped and table created, you'll need to set that spooling up in the Unix environment. But anyway, that should get you where you need to be. I think that's all I needed to cover on the beginnings of the writing the code. Again, when you start writing this code, based on your ERD model, of course, you're going to have your ERD model before you write the code. But that ERD model is going to have the relationships between those tables. So just to make sure that those relationships are identified as constraints in your code. Otherwise, you're just going to have four tables out there with and put data in them, and there's no relation in your relational database. So therefore, it's not a relational database. You just have four tables. So be careful with that, and have fun, and hopefully that helps you get what you need.